Hi everyone. I just wanted to hop on a minute early here while people sign on. I want to welcome everyone. I'm David Kessler. When you join, you may be watching this live or you may see it later. So please give me a hello and tell me where you're from, whether it's now or a little later. I'll look forward to reading the comments. I just want to give folks another minute or two to get on. Well, welcome everyone. I'm David Kessler, and I want to thank Legacy.com for having me on today. I wanted to talk to you about Mother's Day and take some questions if you have them. Some of you have already sent them in to me. So let's talk about Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is one of the most challenging days for a number of people who are dealing with loss. If you're just coming on, say hello. Let me know where you're from. So when we talk about Mother's Day, I want you to think about how much energy there is out in the world. Every commercial on the radio, every store has "Make this a perfect Mother's Day" or "the perfect gift for mom." And for 1/3 of the population, 1/3 of the population either does not have a mother on Mother's Day because their mother has died, or they've had a child that has died. So, hi there, Phil. Glad you're joining us. I think I might even have a question from you I'm going to answer in a bit. So there's this energy in the air around Mother's Day, and so many people feel disconnected from that energy because their mother has died. So what's a happy day for many is not a happy day for all. And even if you've got a full life, you've got kids, you are a mother yourself, you still may miss your mom. It's an interesting thing. We have a lot of myths around grief and Mother's Day. Just to mention a few, people are like, wait, you're still grieving after a year? Isn't your year up? Well, you know, there's no timeline on grief. There's nothing magical about that first year. I can remember years ago, I was working in a hospice, actually, in a hospital, and it was the 35th anniversary of my mother's death. And I was saying it's so odd, I didn't know how to kind of mark the day. And someone said to me, oh, it's 35 years and you still remember your mother? And I turned to them and I said, oh, your mother must still be alive. And the person went, yeah, how do you know? And I said, because no one who's had a mother die would ever say something like that. So there's a million ways we miss our mothers all the time. And of course, it becomes so much more intense these days. I even thought about, now, just so you know, many of you know me from the book I wrote, You Can Heal Your Heart, with Louise Hay. I also wrote another book that many people have read called On Grief and Grieving, with the legendary Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. But besides being someone who specializes in grief, I also had a mother who died when I was 13 years old. So a mother has been absent for most of my life. So I've lived with a lot of motherless Mother's Days. And I can tell you there were even times, like I remember about 10 years ago, at work, someone that I worked with got fired and I was there with them to kind of support them. And they called their wife and they called their mother. And I thought, oh, I don't realize that's what you do when you have a mother. You call them when something bad happens. So we always miss our mothers. So I just want to give you a few tips and then I'm going to just take some questions. First of all, one of the best things we can do is just take some dedicated moments for the memory of our mother who died, or a child that's died, and take some action to commemorate that loss, whether it's light a candle for them on Mother's Day, or it could easily be saying a prayer in their honor. Some people go to the cemetery, some people that doesn't work for them. I always say, you should customize your grief. Your grief only has to work for you. So you do what's right for you, not what you think you should do or someone else thinks you should do. I always say, don't let anyone should on you. So you do what you believe you should do. The other thing is, people will say to me on Mother's Day on Facebook and online, they see so many people who post a picture of their mother and wishing their mother Mother's Day, a happy Mother's Day, and they say they don't want to feel like a downer and post a picture of their dead mother or their dead child. It's your job to honor grief. It's your job to remember them and to honor them. And if you posting a picture of your mother or a child upsets someone else, that's their business. It's really not your concern. Your job is honoring your parent, living or dead. And just know, here on this Facebook page, I hope in the comments, some of you will mention your dear mother's name who's died, or if you have a child that's died, and certainly you can post their picture here. Just know this can be a place, and certainly Legacy has incredible grief groups that I hope you'll check out for support, and you can certainly post their name and write about them there. But don't be afraid to talk about your grief. The other thing is, I think Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, my teacher, used to always say that the dying are our teachers, and so are people in grief. And since I've had a mother who died many years ago, and I also raised my children as a single parent and had a child die, so I don't know what it's like to be a mother, but I kind of had to do both those roles, and I dealt with them being motherless for many years. So we do have to find those ways to honor people. And sometimes we have to teach people. If someone says to you in the grocery store or out and about, Happy Mother's Day, or you're having a good Mother's Day, I think it's perfectly okay to say, it's a really challenging one. My mother has died, or I've had a child that's died. It's okay to own who you are out in the world. And a lot of times people tell me, when I say things like that, it doesn't make them go, oh, you've really upset my day with your grief. It makes them think about, they need to really honor the people who are alive and appreciate perhaps what they have. So make sure you honor that grief, post about it, say a prayer, light a candle, all those things, visit the cemetery. Don't pretend to be fine. That's just wasting a lot of energy. And one of the things I tell people, as you go through your day and the pain hits, think of your mother. Send her love wherever she is. Thank her for being that mom to you. If you have any questions, I know many of you may watch this later. Feel free to post them. I'll answer them here now or later. So we want to honor our sadness. But I also say, as much as we honor our sadness, we want to remember the good too. We want to remember the good times we had with our mother and child. So please post how much you miss your child or your mother today or in these upcoming days. But know you can also post the good things too, the sadness as well as the good, because that love still exists. I don't believe when someone dies, they stop loving us. And I think we continue to love them. So let me take a few questions that have already come in. And if you have a question, feel free to put it up there. I think this is Janae writes, what can I do for my mom who's experiencing my first Mother's Day? What can I do for my mom who's experiencing her first Mother's Day without her mom this year? Wow, great question. This is such an important question for anyone who's wondering how to honor someone who's motherless on Mother's Day. The first thing I say is, don't try to fix them, because they're not broken. That's what grief looks like. So as they miss their mother, as they're sad about their mother, allow that. Honor their sadness. Don't try to point out the silver lining. At least you still have kids, or at least your mom loved you. Any sentence that begins with at least is going to be minimizing. So take your mother out, Janae. Take her out for lunch and say, I'm honoring you, Mom, and this is also a day to honor your mother who's no longer physically with us. So allow that sadness and just be with them. That's the best thing we can do. Okay, this is for Phil, who's on here. So it's been 3 years since I came home to find Mom, and I felt like an orphan since. Sister and her family don't like that Mom and Pop left the house to me, so I've been disowned. She wasn't there over the years for them, but I was. They were always welcome to come and stay. However, if I passed, the house would go to them. She sent me a letter on my birthday to say I'm no longer welcome. So my grief was trampled by greed, jealousy, and guilt. I guess my question is, how do I deal with this orphan feeling and rest because it's eating me alive? Feeling lost every day, but going through the motions to survive. All right, Phil. Such a good question. So, Phil, it's not your responsibility what your sister's behavior is or your family's behavior is. And it's also not your responsibility what your mother's behavior is. And for whatever reason, your mother left you the house. So that's yours. You're leaving it to your sister. That's all that's in your control. You know, in life, we have to recognize what's in our control and recognize what's out of our control. And what your sister thinks of you is really out of your control. So I'm sorry she's upset, and I say your life should be by invitation only. So, look at the people who are there in your life. I'm sorry your sister's not there, but look at who is in your life and appreciate it. And I would also ask you to look at your language because words matter. That idea that you were orphaned. I believe you will have a mother forever, and I believe her love will continue. I'm not a fan of the word orphaned. So I'm someone who likes to think that I have a mother who's in heaven, and I still send her love, and I'm sure she sends me love. I never refer to myself as an orphan. So consider changing that language and consider recognizing you are loved by your mother. In fact, your mother loved you so much she left her home to you. So I would really enjoy being at home in her love and let go of all that drama your sister has and appreciate the people who are in your life. All right, let me just see a couple of live things that came in. Debbie says, made a donation to the Alzheimer's Association in memory of my mom, and that made me feel better. Such a great thing to do, Debbie. Absolutely. You know, giving in honor of someone, and it doesn't really matter whether it's a donation or whether you took the time on Facebook or someone else's post to say you're thinking about them and you're sending them love. But that idea of giving and recognizing someone else's grief or honoring our own grief and our relationship with our mother or our child by giving to a charity is really a great idea. So wonderful idea. All right, let's see. Here's from Susan. Susan says, my mom's been gone 2 years now, and this will be the third Mother's Day without her. For reasons I don't know, this one is the hardest. Maybe the first two I was still in shock and reality setting in. Could it be this or is it something else? I know it's never going to be easy because we were so close and best friends. Well, Susan, you are right. You are always going to miss your mother. That is very, very true. And I can tell you that sometimes that first year, we're so busy with things. The second year, the support's gone. The third year, you really, truly are realizing, wow, this is going to be the rest of my life without them. And I'm never going to get to see her again. So it's not surprising the third year and second year has been hard. It's interesting, there was a study that was done that was asked, is the first year the hardest, the second year, or both? 1/3 of the people said the first year was the hardest, 1/3 said the second year, 1/3 said both. I don't know that anyone's studied the third year of grief, but I can tell you probably what you're hitting up on is subconsciously we have the expectation that maybe after the first or second year it's going to be really okay. and we're always going to miss them. Okay, Phil, what did Phil say? Thank you for that question, Susan. Phil said, that I do, and I visit the cemetery to see her. I know she loves me and is there every day. But that feeling of mom's gone is absolutely life challenging. And yes, the drama and control are, let me see if I can see more here. Yes, the drama and control are completely only what I can do. Thank you. Oh, Phil, you're welcome, and it is so important. You're going to the cemetery, you're honoring her. That's what really matters in your grief. Here's Mary's question. If you have a question, please feel free to put it in. See, this is truly live, isn't it? Feel free to put it in now or later, and I'll take a look at it. Mary says, my daughter almost died 13 months ago. Oh, my daughter died almost 13 months ago. She was 36. I am devastated. I'm trying to get through this. I have other children and love them still, but this is shattering. Mary, of course it is. Of course it is. A child dying, and unfortunately I'm speaking as someone who knows, it doesn't matter what their age is. It is devastating. And you have two jobs. One job is to fully grieve your daughter who died, whatever that looks like, and to feel that grief and that pain and experiencing it. And your other job, you mentioned you have other kids, is to fully live with them and fully engage them. I think that's our two challenges in life when we have a loss, to fully grieve and in time fully live again. And we want to make sure that our children, because I have a son who is alive, we want to make sure that our kids understand how devastated we are about the child who died. But I think we also want to make sure we know how the children who are still with us know how much we love them and appreciate them, even in our grief. So it is going to be challenging, Mary. There is no way to take that away. But I'm with you with that. And I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you'll check out Legacy.com's groups, because those can be very, very helpful. All right, let's see if I missed any other questions here. I don't think I have. Is that correct? All right. Well, I want to thank you. You may be watching this later. I'm David Kessler on behalf of Legacy.com. I hope that you will honor that mother. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest things we can do for anyone who's dealing with the loss of a mother is give them the gift of our presence. Because just like Junior's writing in and say, it's so hard to lose our parents. Our parents are what separates us between ourselves and eternity. They're an archetype. So it is one of the hardest losses. So be gentle with yourself, be tender with yourself, and be with other people if you can, and just honor that grief. Honor and send them love, that person who's died, whether it's a child or your mother this Mother's Day. And thank you for being here. Please feel free to comment, put your loved one's name below, post a picture if you want. Thanks so much. I'm David Kessler. Thank you, Legacy. I appreciate it. Take care. See you again, I hope.